One solid match down, potentially, and I think most bets would wager 2 more to come. At least that would be the intention. We've got a hot one in the Midwest still. Ottawa going up against the University of Illinois and Illini COD. Of course, the Illini COD squad riding a little bit of a high right now. Just kind of riding, I won't say the coattails, but at least kind of a main figure point around the Dan Ghosty story. But the thing about it is, hey, this Illini COD's not bad without Dan either. They were great last year, looking really solid as well this year, Brody.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they didn't make the playoffs. There is that. But, hey, look, there's that story, right? If Ghosty can make it to Optic, perhaps the rest of the Illini roster can make it far as well.
Well.
Maybe that's the way you look at it. I'm on a really, a glass half full kick today. That's all I'm saying.
You really are,
I'm
which is
feeling
funny,
very positive.
I'm definitely on the half empty side right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not normal for me, I'll say that much. But yeah, this Illini roster is not to be trifled with. We're saying that much. I think their only loss this season so far has been an 0-3 versus Wichita State, so there's that to consider. 3-1 beyond that, so they're having a pretty good start to the 2023 season, but they go up against an Ottawa Braves roster that also are looking pretty good. You got Ethan Too Nice on the roster, who appeared in the top 5 plays earlier on as well. Look, I think we've got a good match in our hands here, Alan.
I do too. Ottawa, it's coming off a very interesting start to their season. The roster, you still largely look at E2N and Lightning. We did see some great stuff from Stu, though, last week. So that's definitely a player to kind of keep our eye on as we go. But their opening matches have seen some really interesting trials come through. Of course, the 0-3 loss to Northwood in the first week. That's a tough opening week to play without question. But then you come in the week after, you go into an anticipated match versus Davenport, you blow them out of the water. That's super exciting. But then you follow up by losing to Wichita State. So, I mean, look, this Wichita State team is for real. There's a lot of shared opponents here between these two squads. So we kind of have the ability to kind of at least judge one team against the other in terms of how they have played other squads. But I think most impressive for the side of Ottawa was the fact that they came out and they absolutely dominated Davenport. They didn't even just beat them. They smoked them. So the potential, the ceiling, like we were kind of talking about in certain ways for our previous matchup, the bar is still pretty high here when you talk about this Ottawa team, even though they are just 2-2.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I will say this much. I mean, you have to add an asterisk on it a little bit because we did just see Davenport play, and I think, if some of the mistakes, some of the holes in the gameplay that were there, present in that series were also present in the Ottawa series, then, maybe those are the things we have to take into account here. As I say, it's still early doors in the season. There were a lot of things I think that we still need to consider here before we kind of have ourselves a solidified, like, here are the top echelon of teams.
Agreed.
As we always have our expectations, but, who knows? Those expectations could absolutely be trounced. But as we said, you already talk about kind of, we have some things to compare here between these two teams. Both rosters have faced, I think it was, as you say, Wichita State and Davenport. And a little bit different, I think, when it comes down to the expectations of what we're looking at for this series thus far. But, we look over towards the Illini COD roster here. And again, this team, you absolutely cannot underestimate them. Yes, they're one ghosty down now, but still... They've got some of the roster from last year, and those guys were also no slouch. So
yeah, for Shufi and Eggsy, it's just someone who has to help them out. Was the kind of the question marks from last year. Didn't really have the same notoriety that the Cold War team had in Vanguard. This was still a solid squad without question, but last year 14-6 overall, losers round 2 exit. But this year's gone much better to start, and their opponents this year have been pretty tough. They also beat Davenport. It was 3-1 instead of the 3-0. They did lose to Wichita State at a little bit more of a significant margin, but they beat SIUE 3-1, who was looking like a very hot contender. So I think that's where the real impressiveness comes through, and maybe where a lot of the eyebrows go, okay, Illini, we're looking at you, we're watching. But now it's time to show up on broadcast and put together a heck of a response against a very solid Ottawa team. And obviously, I think everyone's looking at one thing on this scoreboard right now. It's the search and destroy. 1-4 is not going to cut it if this Illini COD team wants to be a major threat to this division that they find themselves in.
You know what's funny, Alan? You said, like, we're only looking at one thing here. That's not what I was looking at, to be honest.
Wait, really?
I was looking at the hard point. I thought this was a pretty competitive hard point.
Hey, you really are in a positive mood today. I like that about you.
Yeah, I really don't know what's going on. I need to knock myself down a few pegs or something. But, yeah, definitely a good thing to point out there. Of course, you talk about Illini COD, and yeah, you're absolutely right. 1-4 is not good enough. And again, you know, it's the same kind of story that we were just talking about when we talk about our last matchup, right? If you are seeing these weaknesses early on in the season versus the first 14 phase, it's a good idea to try and think about, all right, look, these are our problems at the moment. Let's try and fix these moving forward in the season. And perhaps now as we come into the third week of play, maybe they will have made some serious improvements to the Search and Destroy. But as I said, you know, the one thing I'm looking at here in the series overall is going to be that hard point. Feels like it's the strongest game mode for both of these two teams, although, as you just saw there as well, Illini looking pretty good in the control as well. So this is going to be an interesting one, I think, especially when we look towards those respawns.
And the really curious thing about these two squads and their early season schedule is that they're dealing with all the hardest hitting teams in the Midwest right off the rip. The only team that these two squads have not played so far is St. Clair, and for Ottawa, they have not played SIUE yet. Otherwise, you're just dealing with essentially the bottom feeders of the group because they've played all of the other top 5 teams right now in this division. So I think the 2-2 start and the 3-1 start, respectively, are pretty impressive considering the opponents that they've played. So here's our look at our best of 5. Fortress, El Asilo. I mean, mostly what we just got, except for the Search and Destroy, which we'll talk about when we get there. The curiosity point, I think, for me, going into this map number 1, is can this Illini COD team keep up with Ottawa when it comes to participating tempo-wise in the, obviously, the kill department, which is everyone's favorite thing to say in COD.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, we just witnessed what can go wrong in a Fortress hardpoint from that very first series, right? You have to make sure that your rotations are on point. And, you know, I know, forehead statement of the day, sue me, I don't care. It's really important to make sure that you do get these crucial rotations down. If you're losing control of P2, if you're, you 35 seconds left, you need to make sure you're making the right decisions about kind of how you're splitting up the map and making sure you're rotating correctly over towards P3. It's small, menial stuff like that, which might seem menial in the moment, but actually is very, very important when it comes down to the overall context of the game. Because as I said, I'll say it a lot, you can very easily find yourselves in a hole when it comes down to Fortress Hardpoint. It's a map where you can very easily lose yourself early on.
Is it one of those things you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself? Would you say that?
Yes, I would use those words in a very serious Batman-like tone.
In a serious...
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Oh god, I wish I could have seen you on camera doing that.
I did that just before he translated.
I can imagine you like leaning in your mic and just check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I can do it again if you want. You want me to say?
Okay, yeah,
do
please.
Do it again?
Enlighten us.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, I hate everything that just happened. Let's never do this. Let's never do this again. Had a little class glitch, so we'll be jumping into map 1 here pretty soon. But it is one of those things that, you know, I think the difficulty in the top 25 early is the ability to rank strengths of schedule is a mystery from the get-go. As the results start to come through, and I think we were actually at a point as we get to week 3 where, yes, now we do have enough results to kind of look and say, okay, well, they beat these squads and they weren't all that good. Or they played all the great squads so far, so, you know, maybe there's going to be an opportunity for them to improve in the later stages. But for both these two teams, again, they've played Northwood. They've played Wichita State. Haven't played Michigan yet, but we saw what just happened there. They've played Davenport, who was supposed to be a top competitor for the group, and still may very well maybe when all things are said and done. So, like, you've separated yourself into being pretty much, I would say, probably a guarantee for top 8 at least in the Midwest. You know, beating teams like Carroll and Bethany and Maverick Esports, casual, it seemed like. Lots of 3-0s across the board. The big standout, again, comes down to the fact that the Illini Orange team was able to take down SIUE, who's looking like another contender here in the Midwest. So that's the big difference maker so far. And I think that this is going to be one of those matches that ends up being kind of a leapfrog match, kind of determining seeding out of this group. These two teams may finish right next to each other, the only difference being when they played each other, which is happening right now.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me ultimately, as you say, you know, it's expected that these guys are going to be placing pretty highly at the end of the regular season, just given kind of how their early season has gone. But it also alleviates quite a lot of pressure, at least I have to feel, right? You get those hard matches out of the way, and you come off looking pretty good, I would say, for both of these rosters. As you say, 2-2 and 3-1 is no slouch when you look at the rosters that they have faced so far. So again, a lot of the pressure has already been alleviated. You can kind of not necessarily coast through the rest of your run because you still have a couple of really hard teams left to face. But at the same time, again, it does make things a little bit easier and a little bit more relaxing, I suppose, when you look at kind of the run towards regional playoffs. Because again, you know, we look at kind of the formatting that's changed towards this year. You only need to get top 8 and you've already guaranteed a spot in those regional playoffs. You don't have to look towards those LCQs.
Okay. Here we go. Map number 1. Ottawa. Illinois. E2N. Good start for him so far. As you would expect, he has been unbelievable. And that's what you expect from a team and a player that has been finishing regularly, at least at worst, in the top 32 challengers. 10 seconds is earned, but Illini right back in, able to at least neutralize for a moment. Token stepping in, okay. Love to see that from the 4th guy in the mix. And with Lightning soaking up the scrap time, Ottawa's going to have a lot of score here through the first hard point.
They do have to be careful, Illini here. You know, they've lost quite a lot of time with the back of P1, and they might well lose control of P2 as well. Brilliant rotational battle being won there by Phoenix on towards Token. And now this is going to slow up Stu quite significantly so. No need to get aggressive, and Stu, a little bit too much of a look towards the backline there. Phoenix is more than happy to take that gunfight. So Illini are looking pretty confident for the moment. Again, though, caution has to be on the cards here for this roster. They find themselves very quickly being picked apart from all angles. Tommy has way too many different directions to look, and that is a surgical attack towards the point as Ottawa just surge forward and get control.
Yeah, this is a very cognitive part of the Ottawa game plan. It's hitting the hard point from behind. Win the spawns, then win the hill. That's been kind of a staple to what we saw last week versus Davenport and what that play was right there. Although, the Illini kind of spawned in just because Ottawa were finding so many kills from the front of the hard points. They kind of give up the spawns for a moment. Quick correction, Ottawa was able to respond nicely, and with that, the scrap time looks pretty solid. The Illini hard focus on rotation, which Lightning is already here. Gets the opener, plus now the second, turns back towards mid, but will have a little bit of assistance as his teammates will exit from 2 and watch this cross while Lightning makes safe topside maps.
You know what? I was about to ask a rhetorical question as well. You know, you called it those spawns coming through when there was about 27, 28 seconds left on the hard point from Illini COD. Like, do you actually want those spawns at this point? Like, Ottawa Braves, they've already kind of held a hand forward towards the rotation, and they've done a stellar job at making that rotation happen. Things looking pretty hot for the start here from Ottawa Braves, and this is not a good scenario for Illini to be in, especially as another wave of gunfights now come through. Yes, it's stop a streak coming out there from Token. That's the least of their worries at the moment. They're down by a significant margin. You give this one more look, perhaps, and then you move towards munitions, and you can already see they have to put this together correctly. Shufik going to pick up the first one on towards Lightning. That's going to be a good start. Token, though, going to replace his fallen brother in the battlefield, and with 20 seconds left now, again, Illini, they haven't got the kills they really wanted to progress towards his scrap time.
Yeah, really solid hold from Ottawa, and I think there was a little bit of just, I won't say intimidation, but the lack of desire for the Illini to hit up through top maps. Everything was just coming through the archways, and when you've got all 4 members up, those archways are the easiest things to hold from the defensive side of things through Fountain. And maybe some of that is influenced by the fact that Lightning shuts down 3 members up top before the play really even starts, so it's like, well, we don't want to challenge him anymore. But as we rotate over to munitions, the setup looked good for the Illini on paper, but the kills are just not there. And once again, Ottawa flip the spawns, win the hard point, and the Illini are looking about as dead as their mascot currently is. Which is, again, a reference that you're not going to get, Brody, but trust me, it's going to land.
You'll have to explain that one to me later.
All right.
Yeah, Ottawa Braves at the moment. It's surgical. I got deja vu on that hard point again. It was perfectly played. I think it was Token around the back line. Lightning coming through bottom art. That was really problematic for Illini, and they just get taken out. And you're left reeling at this point because there's 20 seconds left. You have to hit this. Like, this is a lot of time to give away. They're going to give it a go. One does get through. Exile is going to be in. Stu, though, now finds himself on 5 in a row. Looking for the back 10 seconds. Does get taken down by Tommy. He's too nice, though. With another double over towards the next hard point. This is terrible. This is, like, awful from Illini. I don't mean that as in their gameplay is abysmal. They're just getting shut down in every key gunfight by Ottawa.
Yeah, this goes to show the strength of the 4-man roster for Ottawa, which that was the question mark about this team. Losing a couple of very key members, not just over the course of Vanguard, but even dating back to their time in Cold War. Like, how well were Stu and Token going to play? And Stu looked great last week, but Token's 11-7 with a minute 15 in the hard point. Like, he's really finding a lot of unbelievably key kills when things start to get tight. And, wow. Okay. This is not at all what I expected. Like, this Illini COD team had me excited based on the results that they put together, but Ottawa's coming out just very different. Not even a little different. This is very different this week from that.
Yeah, this is just something, isn't it? Again, a brilliant hold from Ottawa Braves as Illini try to find their way through towards Blacksmith. Not going to be able to forge anything over there. Lightning from behind. Well, almost gets a double. Nice turn around there from Shufi to try and get some modicum of control. But again, that control is not present, certainly over towards P1. Stu can actually be forced out of position by Shufi over towards those double doors. And Stu doesn't really care. Just gets up, gets the kill, makes it look easy. Now transferring for a second as well. The supporting gunfights are through. They are just running something on these guys at the moment. Illini, it takes 20 seconds for them to be removed from the hill.
And Stu's like, he's the tip of the spear here for a lot of these hits. I mean, he's caught mid-map taking 3 different gunfights, and he's looking cool as a cucumber. Wow. This Ottawa team is looking mighty fine. And I know that the Wichita State loss has a lot of people like, maybe Ottawa's not going to be that good this year. But this is a masterclass of Fortress Hardpoint right here. And I think I said those exact same words about their matchup versus Davenport last week. I don't remember the map, but their opening hardpoint was just like, they could do no wrong. And that's the same storyline here so far. Stu even anchoring spawns to new. Such good discipline and patience. Tommy's now stuck. Up and down he goes, and well, okay, a double he walks away with. And the Illini looking good for some early time here in the second.
Spawns, though, that's the problem again. Illini having to force their way through the middle of the map. They do actually get one crucial gunfight versus Ethan Too Nice, and that would have been problematic for them to deal with the player around the backline as they look to aggress towards the hill, but Lightning just doesn't care. He doubles up for 2, and Shufi, okay, makes things look pretty good with a pistol. I certainly can't do that in ranked play. Shufi making it look, it's so easy, though. Back 20 still left to fight for. Ethan Too Nice knows how important this time will be, and he finally has the final say against Tommy. This back 20 will go their way. And I think the big thing for me, the accentuating point here on this one, is that Illini, despite losing control of that hard point, despite losing the vast majority of time of it, they do not have control of victory once again.
Correct. And look at the setup here for Ottawa this time. This is different, right? Like, they don't have the numbers early towards Fountain. So instead of trying to contest up front, look how passive they are. Get all the way in the back. Make the Illini win some impossible gunfights. And even though they're still spawning relatively close, the kills are still favoring that of the Braves. And even this moment, like, Lightning still doesn't spawn in, but the thing is, like, Ottawa is so good at reading their spawn outs and how they can use them to cut off the plays before they can ever happen. And this is an absolute slaughter. It's going to be 250 to 71. And look, last week was supposed to be a set of bangers on Tuesday, and it was all 3-0s, and we were like, what the heck just happened? But this one is by far way more surprising as far as an opening map is concerned. This was a beatdown.
I think that might well be one of the most dominant, I think it might be the most dominant active Fortress hardpoint I've casted so far this year. That's silly. That is just silly. And like, the thing is, it just looked like Illini were asleep at the wheel. They just didn't look in the conversation, like, at all. I think that the best look they had was on the second set towards Scallows, like, for P2. Like, Tommy went huge with a couple of kills. That was it. Like, they just were not in the conversation at all beyond that point. I feel really bad because I'm sitting here, mate. I had a lot of positivity coming into the day. It's gone. It's gone. It's out the window after that map. I've got nothing left, mate.
I mean, I think the thing that's really surprising about that is the Illini. I mean, you had, what, 20 and 22 from, I think it was Xe or Shufi, one of the two. But, like, no one can stay on the hard point. Like, that in its own self is surprising because, again, we saw the statistics at the beginning of this, the head-to-head on the modes. Like, I think, what, the Illini were 5-2 in hardpoint? Like, they were looking like a really solid hardpoint squad based on the results and the statistics that we could go back and look at, especially in some, again, against some very tough opponents. But here, I think you start to look and you start to really see the value in a player like Token and a player like Stu. Like, Lightning and E2N can just do whatever the heck they want, which is dangerous to say because they're two of the best players individually by skill in college COD. And if your teammates are A, soaking up as much hardpoint as they are, and B, controlling as many lanes as they do, it allows Lightning to hit these flanks, and it allows E2N to almost put the controller down at times inside the hardpoint.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, bud. It's just like getting outslayed. So many great plays coming out from those individual players. I will say as well, on the flip side of that conversation, like, you kind of move away from the individual efforts and you talk about just kind of team play on the whole, like, that's really good from them. Like, the one standout example I can think of is on that first set, right? You know, we kind of look at the rotation from P3 to P4, and Ottawa Braves, they come off a full 60 hold effectively on P3. Like, a hold they should never get, where Illini just looks scared. We move over towards the rotation, and Ottawa are like, yep, we're going to send Token on the flank right behind. Lightning, you're going to push through bottom mark. We're going to hit this at the right times, and we're just going to make the break look easy. Happened with about 20 seconds or so. It looks like a tutorial for these guys, and Ottawa Braves having a hell of a time here in map number 1. Again, I got to say it. Put it in bold, underline it, get the italics in as well. Illini got decimated in game number 1. And you can see here in the final stat lines as well, like, just in terms of that raw slaying power of those individuals that you were talking about bringing to the table here, like, what can you do when that's happening?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Just, I mean, the amount of non-traded kills again is the first place you look to. The hill time that's largely shared between 3 of the 4 members is impressive, considering that Lightning and Stu were constantly hitting flanks, hitting these quick pinches. It's one of those situations where it's like, again, this is kind of an analyst nightmare, because the only thing you could really say is that the Illini's COD squad just got beat up on every form of hardpoint. And you can't really even podcast over any of those points because it was so convincing. It's hard to sit there and say, like, oh, if they would have done this differently, it could have been different. You can't point to anything like that outside of, like, help Shufi get some kills, but I don't know. That is as mind-blown as I've been for a pivotal matchup that I think we've ever seen in college COD. At least to start. A lot of COD to be played. You said it a bunch in the first series. I'll take my turn. Say it now here. We'll stay on Fortress for the search and destroy, and let's just hope things are different for the Illini squad, because their search has not been good.
Yeah, full nameless at the moment, as I think we're all wrapped on. Just fully mind-blown after that map number 1, as Ottawa Braves just trounce them. Their absolute dominance in map number 1, Fortress Hardpoint. We move over towards the search and destroy, and it comes back to the conversation that you brought up at the very beginning, right, when we kind of looked head-to-head for these 2 rosters. Illini's biggest weakness at the moment is in search and destroy. I've got to say it, because regularly speaking, in this situation, we'd be like, oh god, Illini are in trouble.
Yeah,
1-4 search and destroy. This is not looking good. After that first series, albeit I think we saw some sloppy COD there in certain moments, I'm not saying anything at the moment. I don't know what to expect, because we had a very similar storyline going into that one, albeit it was on the flip side where the team was undefeated in search and destroy and they took their first loss. So who knows at this point, mate? But still, I do think it is worth talking about that again. Illini 1-4 here in search and destroy. Don't expect them to win this one.
The thing is, too, look, I get it, audience. You're gonna sit there and say, like, these are just so bland as, like, caster points, but, like, I do think that there is something to be said at this level, when you get beat up that bad, to be able to just cancel it out mentally and then turn around and go into your worst game mode and do better than you've ever had before is so difficult to do. And it could be a boon towards them trying to get into the series. Like, I hate those storylines at the high level, because those players are been in those positions before. They're experienced with it. They're veteran with it. They shake that off like it's water off a duck's back. But for these college kids that have largely faced a lot of success in their early season, like, that is a question. Like, can you really just have somebody in your corner to say, forget about it? It's bad map. We'll talk about it later. Don't even talk about it. Let's go into the search. And I will say, to counter my own point, at least you have Eggsy and Shufi to try to keep cool inside the camp, because they have been there before. They've played college COD, I think, all 4 years that they've been at the Illini COD esports roster. So you have to trust that that's the comm right now. And you could just, hey, we talked about this for search. Let's keep our heads on that. Forget about that fortress. Who cares? The series starts now. That has to be what the mentality is for this Illini COD team right now.
It needs to be a strong mental game, that's for sure. And I can tell you, I certainly wouldn't have it, mate. You know, I lose full in my rank play games.
You lose full pretty quick,
yeah, I'd certainly lose full here, to be honest with you, bud. It is just, like, how do you come back from these situations? Because you expect it at a high level, but this is not that. This isn't CDL. This isn't Challengers Elite. This is CCL, where you're going to be really tilted, and understandably so, after what was just getting. It's very easy to get into that mixer, right, and get into that mindset after map number 1, because when you're going to be in that map and you're going to be sitting there like, oh, I'm dead, respawn, oh, I'm dead again, oh, here we go. you even started to like lose the ability to call out in certain.
Sure.
You lose your fundamentals in the gameplay because you're just not in the right mindset at all. To regain that from scratch is such a hard thing to do. Like, it's something that people just don't think about really that often. Like, you're just sitting here at home. You know, I know obviously you guys are probably going to be playing your own games, whether it be like GB tournaments, what have you, perhaps you're even CCL participants yourselves. So you might well have been in this situation, but a lot of people, like just viewers who don't play the game at this level, like just don't even think about that aspect of it, where it's just like you have to reset yourselves.
Yeah, and look, you could be in the top 250, and it's still not the same. Like, you lose a game of rank, you just queue up again.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stick with you
There's no
outside
stakes.
of losing a little bit of SR. Like, so what? You know, obviously there's going to be matchups that matter more, so to speak, but like that's not the same as a full team versus team competitive environment. So we'll see what we get. We flirted with the storyline enough. Quick contest from the Illini over towards this A site on the interior of Cannon, but it doesn't work out. First blood for Lightning. Immediately follows up with a plant, or does he? No, the bomb actually gets killed just before it's planted. And now the Illini are in a 3v3 with Eggsy, who's actually pushed up into a really nice spot. He can actually get behind this play if he wants to.
Yeah, that was a massive miscommunication, actually. It wasn't exactly Token's fault. He thought that Shufi was still positioned up top in maps. That was not the case at all. Shufi had actually managed to escape outside his POV. And from that position, he garnered. First blood is drawn for Illini. And this does make things awkward for Ottawa. Do they realize that somebody has penetrated the defensive line? Things most certainly slow as Too Nice trying to draw that first blood. Got to be wary on that left side. Up comes Phoenix to try and cause some problems. And XC doesn't have dead silence just yet, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't need it. He needs to finish on the gunfight. No! Does not get the second versus Stu. And on the other side, the gunfights have gone down. Most certainly not in favor of Illini. And Shufi has to clutch up again in a 1 versus 2. The shot's going out towards Token. Can he get the bomb partner as well? No, just going to back away for the second.
That is an unbelievable two-piece from Stu. Changing the angle. Shoot! Oh my god! No! Stu! What in the hell was that? The first kill he gets is fine. The second he snaps and embarrasses one, and then here, first shot's into him. Stu snaps over. That is unbelievable.
Right. I just don't know what to say. I don't know how that falls apart. And, like, XE has like a free two-piece. Like, to not get that. Oh, that's a fumble. And then to lose that 1v1 as well towards the end. I get that he has the coverage of the bomb, but still, like, goodness me.
Yeah, here's the thing, content team. That's your top play of the week, and you're going to have to, like, get every kill from the victim's perspective and, like, slow it down with, like, little arrows pointing to Stu, because all of those kill cabs were going to be impressive as all get out.
Oh, dear.
Opening 1-for-1. Raid boss down. Actually trying to make a play in. E2N was in a spot maybe to double up, but no. It's going to be the Illini who hold the numbers 2v1. E2N, though, still a very formidable opponent on the other side. And he only has the trophy to work with. May isolate. No, not going to happen. Gets baited into the gunfight, and the Illini bounce back.
A weird round. It's so aggressive on the defensive side. Illini able to trade things back in the end. Even two knife. I don't know what he's doing here, to be honest. And he switches over towards the knife, maybe thinking that these guys will run away through munitions. Either way, it was not the right play in that situation. Does get punished for it. And Illini seem to stabilize there. Again, this is now technically speaking a second round. Obviously, they did end up winning this one. They should be 2-0 up after what happened in round number 1.
Well, yeah, I'll say.
Oh, dear.
You got shaken off.
I think they've got that mental reset that we were talking about, Alan.
Yeah, brother, I'm telling you. There we go. Double stack here defensively in towards the double door side of this A defense. Climbs the window. Token just baits it, waits for it. Says, you fooled me once, you will not fool me again. Bomb now being planted, and all of Illini's defense is from the front. This is not how you want to be setting up for a retake. You're going to have to hope that XZ can get a kill here mid-map and force this offensive post plant to move around a bit.
Surely not again. Have somebody towards the back line here. Ooh, he's going to activate the silence.
Wait, Token's
the activation.
Here. Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every token's up towards the railings. We'll take him down. Yeah, good adaptations coming out from Ottawa Braves. Illini now not with the numbers, even in that 2 versus 3. This is still hard. The bomb course had been planted. Shufi's going to fall. Another one on the other side as well. Yeah, it was the adaptation play for me there, Alan. Again, they recognize what went wrong the first time, even if they won the round. They don't let it happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about this setup for Ottawa, it goes to show is, like, we don't care if you're watching the cross with an AR, like, through that little crack in the double door. Like, we just don't care. Like, you have to come chalice. And the only ways that you could safely do that based on how we're gunning is through mid-map. So I think you're right. Token just kind of holds just kind of a cruddy angle. He just goes prone, waits for someone to cross in the windows. Like, I get it. It's Modern Warfare 2. It happens all the time. So I love the idea of that. Like, force the Illini to have to try to hit you quickly if they want to contest from a different angle. Is now you get right into the middle of round number 4, and Ottawa have bursted defensively on towards the A site. They take down the bomb carrier. Tommy takes down Token, who didn't have a weapon left or no ammunition, one of the two. And after the opening and chaos and engagements come out, it will lead to an E2N 1v1 as trades were quick to follow in every single gunfight.
What is going on? Ottawa Braves, they just they get running, they just can't stop. The momentum, huge. Now we find ourselves in a 1 versus 1, even Too Nice versus Tommy. No Daddy free from Too Nice, and I suspect on the other side, given how Tommy is crouching around, he doesn't have any either, but he has been spotted through the truck window. Now trying to get an angle is even Too Nice. Shots going out, and Tommy just going to run away. He knows that his best play in this situation is to get to Narnia, sprint towards the other side of the map, towards the haven that is B-bomb, and we're going to get one of those fabled B-bomb plants.
It's like a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, whichever is more rare. Doesn't happen often, but whenever it does, it's always special. Oh, and he's got a decent read on this. Do you have the ice to keep watching this angle? E2N is baiting, creating doubt, comes across, gets the gunfight, but no, Tommy's just in too good of a spot. That's not bad for the Braves. I mean, Ottawa, I won't call that a disrespect play, but it was a disrespect play. They just run straight into A, saying win the gunfights or else we win the round. And at least for the Illini, they did respond nicely with quick trades.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like just trying to regain control of the narrative. In a way, I think for Ottawa Braves, they know that obviously they had Illini rattled after that map number 1, and they wanted to kind of regain some of that pressure in round number 4. Did not work out in the end, even though trades mostly do. Tommy is able to clutch up massive 1 versus 1 from him of steel. Now, Hillary can get anything done in this round. Once again, Illini reaching hard in towards the A side, but still going to take the head off Phoenix. And that will leave Exy a little bit concerned into his positioning over towards A.
First blood. Could lead to more. I mean, Exy's stuck on site. He does well to get one, honestly. Problem about it is, Shufi's not there to follow up, and this leaves him kind of out to dry in a 1v3. Knows that Token's nearby. This would be an isolated 1v1. The shots do not land, though. Need to end quick to follow up. No worries there. Clean stuff from Ottawa. Man.
Yeah, it was a good effort, I think, to be honest with you, bud, from Illini to get hard in towards A, but as soon as they lose those first gunfights, they look a little bit paralyzed.
That's true. Yeah, it definitely is. And I think the thing about it, again, is like Ottawa, I think, is playing with a certain level of we don't care. And again, this comes off with so much negative connotation. I don't mean it like that, but like what I always say about search and destroy rounds that lead to a team just kind of, I was going to say W keying you, but not obviously on keyboard, but just running at you is like you don't have the opportunity to actually see your plays get off the ground. And that can be so frustrating to deal with. And I think Ottawa are really trying to play for that tempo and that aggression to where the Illini have to stop Ottawa first before they can then make their own play. First blood good for Ottawa in this round in particular. Lightning nearly caught with his dead silence button out, but still collects the kill and keeps his life.
And again, it's reaching into the site. It's the problem for Illini now, especially as they're the ones that have to play aggressor in this situation. GP. Shots over towards Lightning. It is just a bait play while Token tries to peek his head over the stairwell and will find the kill. And if Tommy gets away with this, if he escapes, he is Harry Houdini. There is no other way around it. He's stuck in towards stables at the moment, and Ottawa still feel like they're looking for him. Done it.
Yeah.
He's done it.
Dude, it's always really funny whenever someone brings that up because, like, you can see it, like, if you just watch the video, the arrows just, like, look like little, you know, birds, like, looking for food or something. They all just, like, doop, 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 doop. And now they'll realize. But still, Tommy has the world and more to take on here. Gonna isolate, well, never mind timing. I was gonna say, he's gonna isolate one for free here, but never mind. Clean stuff from Ottawa.
Ooh. The Nice shots in the body coming out from Token. Tell you what, that's fairly aggressive for being 4-2 up here in Search and Destroy. It's a bold strategy. I'll tell you that much, Alan. Shooting the body sometimes doesn't exactly work out. But again, Tommy, fair play to him. That's the second time he's managed to just run hightail over towards the opposite side.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. It's like now you're down 4-2. And if you're the Illini, you have to turn the game around. That's a stupid thing to say, but like tempo-wise, you have to start to assert your own dominance. Force Ottawa to put together a response. And this time, the Illini COD throw a ton of utility over towards A, and then back up to single window. Good isolation, good learned lesson on how Token wants to play topside boat. And now you hold a significant advantage with munitions control. Well, Exy just gives it up for free. Never mind. And I was going to say, you're watching an aggressive crossing angle towards A, so there's not a lot of options here for Ottawa, but Exy just gives away a free kill.
And now free hit. Tommy once again. Trying to channel his inner Exy. In towards munitions he goes. Dead Silence has run out now, so now definitely needs to try and play super slow. Has to make sure he peeks the door as well if he wants to exit that way. Should hear Stu above him. Unless Stu has activated Dead Silence, but I don't think he actually has. Still, Tommy finds himself in the Hornet's Nest, and he has the Sting ready to go on towards Lightning for 1. Nicely done. Now looking for exits on towards the second, but again, they heard him. Not really much information to work off, and Shufi now finds himself in a 1 versus 2.
He's got the benefit of timing here with the clock, though. E2N denied. Stu's still holding for the plant. This kid's got so much ice, bro. And he's going to back away. Shufi does not have Dead Silence, so he's going to make a lot of noise or have to move very slowly. Good prediction, though, on how Stu has exited. Not even considering the play, well, now towards stairs. And there's the confirmation of information. And Shufi maybe wants to chow this? Bold call, to say the least. I don't know. You've got him in a corner. And he's going to have to eventually check bomb from a bad angle. That's a tough call.
I mean, I tell you what, mate. I wish I had that much confidence flying in attack. Like that.
Yeah, true.
Against a Vastnev player as well?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, good luck. That is tough, yeah. I mean, I guess, like, you have to make a play happen. It would have been nice for the Ensign if you could get that 1 versus 1, but yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 moments for me, just to quickly recap. It's, first of all, I think if you're Exy, you should learn the lesson that if you get the top single again with a kill, there's no reason for you to over-chow with numbers like that ever again. Like, force them to flush you out. And then kind of the same thing for Shufi. Like, you push him off the angle to watch the bomb, so... Now backs up against the wall. Bomb carrier immediately taken out of the picture. Tommy with Elisa trade. We go 3v2 as another kill gets tallied by Phoenix. Numbers to the Illini. And they're going to go B again.
They're going to get away with it as well. There's no reason for Stu to get hyper-aggressive. They should get away with it, unless they're actually going to double back. No, they are. Okay, they're going to go. They double thought that for a second. There's a lot of, like, I think, reconsiderations there in that play. They're like, hey, do we do this or do we double back towards A? And they're like, yeah, okay, we've actually got maybe map control here. One will go down. And this is why these B plants, I mean, they're so rare, but they can pay off so well because of the fact that, like, just getting in towards this bomb site is almost impossible. Especially, again, when you talk about the players that we have at hand here.
Exactly.
Ethan doesn't have Dead Silence to work with. They're going to hear him. And Stu goes down and right into the slaughter they go. Great play, I think, from those last remaining players.
It's that 3 out of their 4 offensive rounds they've planted successfully at B.
Yeah. It's a weird one, bud.
That's too funny, man. All right. So here we go. An opportunity for the Illini to kind of step back in to this map. We kind of have to have it just to kind of give us something else to at least consider for the series at the moment, because right now Ottawa is looking mighty fine outside of the 3 plants that have happened over towards B. So what's the defensive call here? Oh, and how about Tommy? Immediately up into the fray, and if he would have been able to find a first kill, that would have been more than enough for the line to work with, but now they find themselves kind of staggering for positions, and it's a 4v2 post-plant for Ottawa.
All right, Exy. You know what you got to do, bud? And he's been denied. No chance. Lightning? Okay, bud. What is that? Lightning straight into the open. We'll get punished, of course, by Exy, who is already having a Scarper away from munitions. Spot the head of 2 Nice there, snaking away on the gallows. I'm dwindling down very quickly in this round. Exy and Phoenix didn't make a decision. They don't have Deddy to work with here. Gonna have to get hyper aggressive. Ethan Too Nice, he has the positioning through the stage. He will grab the final kill as well as Ottawa Braves able to close things out there in round number 9. First Bloods go their way, and Illini again, they just look staggered, stunned once that happens.
Yeah, agreed. It's just, you can see why the Search and Destroy record is 1-5, I think. I think most categorically, we're seeing just unnecessary challenges for the Illini COD team. And some of them are by design, and I like in the opening moments, that's fine. I'm fine with those.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're able to get that pressure through top window in the first round, you get kind of countered out, sure. You find the response to it later in the map, great, love that. But after you get that kill, why overshell a 4v3 when you have key positions in your favor? Like, the offense can't go anywhere while you hold top single like that with players that are forward on both the archways. That's, I think, problem number 1. The second is use your weaponry to your advantage. Like, and it's a small thing, I get it. Like, it's one moment in a round and, what, 9 rounds worth of Search and Destroy. So, like, it's kind of whatever. But I still don't think that there's any reason with attack to go Chala Vaznev in the inside off a post plant when you could have maybe even held for a defuse. Let alone, you know for a fact that the player you've got cornered inside of munitions is weak. And with the Vaznev, force them to have to chow you through a single door that's open, or backside stairs with attack is just better. So I don't know, there were options there. I just don't love the calls through and through, but I think this is more so another one of those moments, and I mentioned it kind of like halfway through the search. Like, this Ottawa team is playing their game. They're playing you with tempo, they're playing with you aggression, and this Illini COD squad that seemed to want to come out a little bit more calculative, were just never able to get like their full 4v4 set plays really off the ground at all.
Yeah, I think it's that, you know, it's individual plays that just don't go their way. Like, this is...
I don't like that shell at all.
I would go as... I don't mean to be rude, but actually I do. It's a bit of a silly play, to be honest. Like, again, I mentioned it, like, the first thing the first kind of speed bump that you're hitting there in that situation is that you have attack versus a Vaznev. Like, it's just like, look, I've seen some nutty things here in CCL. I've seen some nutty things so far in the 2023 Modern Warfare 2 season. That doesn't happen that often, to be honest. Regardless, though, I think, you know, the other thing I was going to say was that just like there were a lot of first early rounds, first early bloods in the rounds, you know, where we're seeing like fast hits towards A on the defensive side, where Ottawa Braves are winning those 50-50s, like more often than not. And for Illini, it's just kind of unfortunate in a way that those don't go their way. But it is that coupled up with kind of the individual mess ups, if you will, that just don't help.
It's still one of those things that's like, and I could see it, like I could appreciate that the Illini are trying to use their utility to get information before they commit to a play. But the thing about that is their utility is finding information, but it's already too late because Ottawa's already getting the proactive first bloods, like you mentioned. Like, the first engagements continue to go the way of Ottawa because they were forcing those engagements to happen in the first 15 seconds. So it definitely does kind of turn into this, like, shoot, like, we wanted to get a read on what this team is doing against us before we make our decisions, but we're not really able to do that because they're challenging everything all at once in the first break off 15 seconds. So it's a tall ask for, I think, any team to come in and be able to match that tempo and be able to swing a map back into your favor. And I think that was kind of the big key overall in that map too. So far, Ottawa looking dominant here in this 13 versus 14 matchup at the top 25. We head to a break and an LSC control afterwards to see if the Illini COD can get back into the series. Don't go far. Welcome back, everybody, to what has unfortunately been a very one-sided affair once again. Ottawa Braves looking dominant right now, even though they still hold just that 2-2 record. The only major surprise was the loss to Wichita State. So, you know, a lot of credit to what we're seeing out of that WSU team. Whereas for the Illini COD squad, a lot of hope and anticipation about this team being maybe a top contender this year. Well, those hopes have been dwindled very rapidly with the status of our first 2 maps. Well, who knows? An opportunity to try to swing the control around and maybe try to force not just a 4th, but maybe even a 5th. Maybe sway the minds of the voters, the audience, and ourselves a bit more here, Brody.
Yeah, who knows, man. Look, the good news is I will say for Illini here, if there is any, and this is a day where, you know, I'm trying to be more positive as a person, Ali. You know this, but I'm trying to get better at being positive as a person. And you know, I think there is something positive to say here. Ultimately, you look towards the control records that we were going on about earlier on, right? And again, Illini, technically speaking, have a better control record coming out of those first 4 matches. They are currently 3-1, only taking 1 loss. So that is something to look forward to here for Illini. Look, if they can get the control moving, they can get some momentum in their favor, they might well be okay in this series. But they have basically an Everest level mountain to climb moving forward in this one, because the hard point's not looking kind, especially after that mountain 1 and the search and destroy again. I think there's just some cracks in the gameplay they need to paper over at the moment.
Sure, and I think that's a great way of putting it, because, you know, it's one of those things, it's like the dam can only hold so much water while it's starting to kind of crumble, and the water is starting to overflow here, I think, for Ottawa. And it's hard for us to say, like, it's difficult to go back and, like, look at all the maps and, like, where things have gone right for the Illini versus where things have gone wrong, even in their wins. The only thing that I kind of looked at in particular was the details on the Illini versus SIUE game, which both hard points were blowouts in favor of the Illini. So that's why I was mostly excited to see what this Illini team was going to bring to the respawns in particular, but that was kind of missing, at least in the opener. So can they find a way to get this to a 4th map and alleviate some of those issues in the hard point? We'll come to find out. It's the Illini on defense first. E2N denied by Eggsy, who's got the opening 3. Kind of a solo defense for him here at A. But Ottawa off spawn, still a chance to threaten.
Really good opportunity here. Relying on the defense as well. Again, those trades continue to go down. Ultimately, not really in favor of Illini. Like, is Phoenix the last one left standing? We'll pick up even 2 nice here. And this is a problem that I think Ottawa know that they need to deal with, looming right above them, literally. Phoenix still alive. Progress starting to be made on the point, though, sitting in the corner. Right below him will be Token, making that progression happen here, and having a back away will be Phoenix as he takes some shots from afar. Again, space being created by Ottawa at the moment, and a lot of space being given away. I would argue for 3 by Illini. They need to get moving right about now. In for a flank will be Phoenix. He's going to get shut down, and now we're going to have to take this one from either Checkers or from the other side of Courtyard will be Exy and Shufi. Exy falls now. Shufi, the last one left alive. Shufi does pick up a double here. This is a pretty good look for Illini to hold on towards this point, but they have to be cautious about how much effort they're putting in this. Token finds himself in a 1 versus 2, but this is what I mean, Alan. You've got to be careful, because now players come off the spawn. There's no presence on the defense towards green. An open lane towards B.
Yeah, but this is very staggered for Ottawa. They don't have a lot of map control. Lightning's working on it, to be fair. And the clock continues to stay stopped as Stu gets forward towards the B bomb site almost, on the fence line, to stay safe from anyone over towards window. But, again, you can only hold that position for so long, and I don't think that first tick is all the way in. May not make much of a difference. Lightning could confirm it, but instead just wants to play for high ground control and off spawn towards the north side of the map. Ottawa is going to have to continue to flood over towards B.
Yeah, that's their choice, isn't it? I mean, they're spawning up over towards green again.
There's
no
the
presence.
progress.
Yeah, no presence on the defense, as you say. That final tick does come through. Lightning trying to create some space in the middle of the map, and he will do so successfully, but you have to be careful. Illini trying to enact a flank. 2 players coming on that direction. Exy now on 5 in a row. 1 off the cruise missile. Would be nice to have in the back pocket, and Tommy on the flank will get a kill. Exy does fall off the back of those spree, but inside, pressure starting to now build. 2 ticks of progression will be through. Shufi tagged up by the stunt. Will be taken down 1, and that is B cleared. But the problem again, this is a lot of presence as Lightning picks up his 7th in a row. Illini are so back and forth in the moment, and how aggressive they're being on the defense. They flip all the presence over towards B to clear it. They lose everything on A.
Well, the thing about that is that's all credit to Lightning. He kept going back and forth over towards patio, so the spawns for the Illini kept going back and forth. He was literally blocking one side or the other. He goes 11-4. A lot of that was on that clearance play that we were talking about 45 seconds ago. And now that they get the extra 60 seconds, it's a 6v11. Shufi holding on to backside truck. That stops Ottawa from being able to go quickly on towards B on their first attempt, and good cleanup behind this. E2-1's the last one standing, and he will be scouted out, but Shufi's shots did not land. But he's still on 7 with a cruise missile, so the Illini have tools to work with just as much as Ottawa does.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see those tools used just yet. Hold on. Hold your horses here, folks. A couple of kills come through from Ottawa Braves. They only need 1 to get progression. And there's a couple more as well. Yeah, this is Dunzo. No!
No.
Why?
Such a bad call.
What is... All right, look. No. Glass half full. Positivity. It was a great streak. No, I can't lie.
The thing is, like, you know, just quickly, like, he's not going to get there anyways. So, like, I get that you want to be helpful, but There was no way that cruise missile was even going to get the flaps blown off before that zone was completed. So it is a throwaway of a streak, and that's a tough pill to swallow right there for the Illini, because you thought you just did enough to get back into the defense, and then all of a sudden, it's that one burst onto B. Oh, that's pain.
Does he still have it? He still has the streak.
Huh?
I came down. What?
This is like
what?
This is like when you're. I think we could say this is a different Activision game. This is like when you're in Overwatch, you try to hit your ultimate, like in the round ends, you're like, oh no, I lost my ultimate. It's like, oh, never mind, didn't actually.
Dude hit the glitch on his cruise missile? Okay. It's rewind time, baby. What is going on?
What are we talking about, dude? Shufi made an incredible play. Like, he just let the round end, didn't call anything in. Why are we second guessing this guy?
Anyway,
man.
don't worry about it. Don't stress it. Ottawa Braves getting away with gunfights here on the defensive side. Illini not having the best of starts here on this one. Efforts may be made on both A and B. Neither of them successful. And we find ourselves with 50 seconds on the clock, and Ottawa pushed all the way up. The kills do come through, though. Stu has a lot to do here towards Bar and loses the first gun against Exy. That is disgusting for Exy to come up the stairs in that manner. And now Illini, a lot of space here to make this work as Ottawa Braves spawning out over towards Pride Rock.
Yeah, really well done. That kill was everything. So like you call, Ottawa will concede. Try to throw a couple of members over for exits, but as token is denied, the Ottawa Braves have to be very cautious about how many members they send through the B site here, because the back door is wide open. And that's how Illini are making their move. And Shufi could technically call the streak in here and get the information that, hey, no one's around the back. He may not get any kills with the streak, but he would confirm where all of this defense is positioned. But instead decides to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's apparently good enough. Stu, once more, very good by himself, but you can only ask him to do so much. Xe gets the trade, and with that, the Illini are on towards B.
And one hope here really on the defensive side. It's going to be the flanking play potentially on the cards from Lightning. He is actually going to be shut down now, so Ottawa need to do this from the front side. Token is still alive as he picks up that kill on towards Phoenix, and now this will slow everything up for Illini. Chiefy trying to slowly make his way around. Should be able to catch Token off guard here, and we'll be able to do so. What does the follow-up look like? Tommy sitting in bottom tools. That would have been nice if they could activate at the same time. Instead, they both falter. Xe has already been tagged up here, and just going to have to run away and Scarpa to try and preserve his life in this situation, and the map control. Therefore, for Illini. Once again, just looking to poke holes in the defense here, but none being made. Phoenix, what can he do towards Barbecue side? Might get some good timing here, and actually manages to do so with a kill on towards Even Too Nice. It's good enough, but again, he attempts to create space. It's a little bit tough, as you say, Alan. Not exactly the best of outcomes there.
It's like you're committing to the dolphin dive. You want to avoid anyone behind you, and like while you hit the trigger, someone pops out. It's like, so you thought you were safe. It's just, yeah. You might. It's like one of those moments you kind of freeze the frame. You might wonder how it got here.
Oh my god, I was actually thinking that, mate. Exactly what I was thinking. We're on the same way. That's it.
Ottawa through the play will shut down any final hopes for the Illini to get on, unless Tommy could single-handedly do it. But not enough time. Yeah, just tries to find a route. Not going to work out. And Ottawa go up 2-0. Not looking good for the Illini. They still have a streak to work with, but this would have to be the Omega Lol Keck W Mega reverse sweep here to get the 3 in a row on control, plus the 3 maps in a row.
Yeah, there was a lot of efforts there for Illini to get map control through the flank. But I think a lot of them weren't that well coordinated, got to be honest. I think a lot of it is just kind of trying to make the individual plays happen, and then off the back of that, you're just not getting those individual plays. It's just it's ultimately trying to tough, isn't it, really?
And, like, the thing about it is, like, both rounds, like, there are great moments for the Illini to look back on. It just comes down to this Ottawa team's tough, especially when Lightning's got 17 kills. Like,
true.
He's just hitting everything all at once, it feels like. So, definitely an opportunity for the Illini to get this defense. But the thing is, you have to do it convincingly because of the progress coming through for Ottawa on their first offense. And as the Braves kind of patiently wait for the gunfights, now all 3 of them are looking to make a play over towards B. They will not expect Shufi, though, behind this play. And as he gets the first, he'll change up the angle, trying to pursue the second. Unbelievable shots from Shufi. Does get traded, but it stops the Ottawa Braves from finding significant progress at B early. Great shots.
And actually, I'm really glad that we looked over towards Shufi there for a second, because I was wondering about whether or not he still had that trap card in the back pocket of the cruise missile that he definitely shouldn't have. So he still does. There is something there for Illini. Get out of jail free card if they want to use it later on down the line. And then, oh, have to here. A lot of pressure building over towards B. Not much being dealt with at the moment, and Tommy and Exy on the flank will be dealt with as well. Phoenix goes down, and Chiefy now the closest player to do anything in this situation. He will take down one. That weakens this all down towards Lightning, on towards the point. Things slow up quite significantly. Shot through the top will be Lightning, stunned as well. There is no trophy to save him in this situation, and Illini, they do not lose B just yet, and that's a very important transfer kill as well. Even Too Nice needed to pick up that one, keeps the door open.
Okay. Opportunity, though, squandered. Phoenix, a key kill. Will also deplete the third tick of progress. That is important to note. 21 played, 21, 30 seconds on the clock. Exy for the contest. Tried to sneak into the zone from an off angle, but denied. And now it's down to the final two Illini COD members here at A. Nice shots once again. Shufi he's shooting right now, I'll say that much. Phoenix taking some inspiration from his counterpart AR. Clears the zone, at least, of the majority of the Braves. Third tick of progress still in the way, and Token will be overwhelmed. So now the clock becomes a major issue for Ottawa. They've got both zones that are definitely applicable to try to hit. Just comes down to when and where do they try to actually get to either of these two zones.
It feels like a little bit of a problem at the moment for Illini. I repeat, the problem with that is that they do not have progress or defensively kill to be made on both the points. Cruise missile coming down, nicely done. They will remove the players over towards B as Illini transfer correctly. And a nice one towards A as well for Shufi. Still not done though, 10 seconds on the clock. Lightning going to overextend towards the back line, and it is a nice kill to be made there by Tommy. Exy on the flank will clear things over towards B, and with 2 seconds left, they will touch. Exy trying to catch some of these guys coming off the spawn, but inside the point, Token causing problems, as is even Too Nice.
No way, not again, bro. Phoenix gets good first, can't get away from the trade. 12 plays 9. Again, lives are favoring the Illini, but they are not forward on B. Cruise missiles called in for Stu, and this should find at least 1 kill. No, he decides to go for Shufi, who is the trophy carrier, so he keeps himself safe. Nade will tag on the Token. He'll also drop. So now 10v6, and map control starts to sway in favor of the Illini as more kills are tallied.
5v8. 28 seconds on the clock here. Clearance now being made here as Lightning and Stu pick up a couple of frags. Lightning falls though. That is tough. And now down to the last set of respawns. Lightning will not come off the respawn point. Or Stu won't, excuse me. Token trying to fly across. Manages to get a free kill on towards Tommy. Trade to good for Shufi, as it is for Exy. And it is going to be a pinstripe kill feed ultimately in favor of Illini, considering they're the ones with
nice
respawns. And the clearance will be made towards the end. Scrappy, mind you, but it is good enough for Illini to hold on.
There was a moment there when the A zone was that final threat with like 7 seconds left, where it did kind of feel like the Illini are like, all right, we got the round, start talking about offense. Wait a second. Like, it's like everyone kind of hit the brakes for a moment, but yeah, like you mentioned, good collection. Really good individual plays from Phoenix as well in the mix. Tommy shutting down a couple of stretch plays from Ottawa, even though he hasn't had necessarily the greatest map, was definitely a key part of that last defense. But now the hard question is, how do you get it done on offense, and how can you do it by capturing both zones if you want to see a round 5 defense? And I don't even think mathematically it's actually impossible anymore. So this has to be done, I think, on 2 straight offenses if you're the Illini.
Quite impossible. Not probable, mind you, but still. Can be done. Attempt here, and yeah, Lightning's just searching for Exy, search every single crevice for that player, and now you're in trouble, I think, if you're Illini, because again, we talked about this. Getting players up and towards green is a really strong thing to have on the defensive side. Illini well aware of the fact that someone's probably hanging around joint. Too Nice is that guy, but over towards the middle, AC and Tommy able to clear some space, and that will give an opportunity over towards A, even if the one player that was trying to make flank happen through B does fall. So now, focus shifts back over towards A here. Phoenix opens up the innings with 1 frag. Lightning now looking for a strong defensive hold, and we know what Lightning can produce here for this squad. Almost ends up tagging his teammate in Token. Token instead will take him down a couple of pegs, down to 60 HP or so. Back towards 100 for this gunfight, though, and there is the clearance acquired again. Lightning and Token, they get it done. Again, shaky for a second, but Ottawa, they do clear.
And look how fast, again, Ottawa are. Like, if you want to see a difference between, like, again, this is the number 13 team and the number 14 team. Those are not going to stand. Ottawa needs to be in the top 8, at least. The thing that differentiates these two squads is as soon as Ottawa finds a favorable kill feed, look how fast they move across the map to take away positions. That's something that you see starting at, like, the mid to high level of challengers. It is definitely present unless you're London, in the CDL. So there's a lot to be credited to how Ottawa are playing, regardless of the fact that they're going to come away with a 3-0 here, that is really impressive. And yeah, the 2 losses, the one to Wichita State, the other to Northwood, those hurt, but I still think this team should be in at least the top 8. They're way too good to be outside the top 10.
Okay. Hold on for a second. All right, look.
For literally 0.3 seconds, I'll hold on.
Yeah, we're still holding on, bud. There's still a chance here, bud. All right, look, Illini, 11 versus 20. 0.3 seconds on the clock. Phoenix manages to clutch up over towards A. And they're going to get the extra 60 seconds. Never mind, I took way too soon. Lightning is going to be taken down. XC, can he get it done? No, the triple will be denied. And Ottawa Braves, they certainly have to fight for it towards the end of that final round. In that final play, really. But they get the job done anyway. 3-1 here in the control, 3-0 in the series.
Yeah, it really is one of those performances that I think you start to kind of shake off the doubt that this Ottawa team had because of their 2 losses again. And just to recap those, like, let me just go back and we'll just hit the maps completely, because I think a lot of the people that are voting in the top 25, whether it be player or community, don't necessarily look at the exact map scores. You got to remember that the matchup they played against Northwood, which I believe was first, that was a 3-0, and it was pretty convincing. 250 to 120, 6-2, 3-0 control. Okay, I get it. The loss to Wichita State, though, that matchup went 5. It was a 208 to 250, a round 11 loss to where Ottawa was down 0-2 in that series, and then they smoke the control, they blow them out of the second hard point, and it goes 10 in map number 5 that Wichita State win. So I'm excited to see this Wichita State team is what I'm really getting at here, because they beat up on the Illini pretty bad. And this Ottawa team, if they played like this versus Wichita, and Wichita still found a way to win, that's darn impressive. But this Ottawa team should be, I would say, probably, top 8, I'm going to say. Top 10 for sure, but probably top 8.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, Alan, is that when we compare kind of what we saw in the first series and the second series, and I get it, it's not apples for apples, I get it.
Correct,
but at the same time, I think, we were talking about kind of some of the mistakes that we were seeing in the first series of the day, kind of like, a bit fumbly, if you will. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now.
I like it.
We're not seeing that from Ottawa Braves. I think just the way that we're seeing, the way that these guys are putting together their offensive hits on trying to get control of these points here in control, or, kind of the breaks of it towards the hard point in map number 1. Like, we're quite clearly seeing a well put together team here, not just in terms of the raw talent, which, by the way, is absolutely bloody there thanks to players like Lightning and even Too Nice in certain situations. But as a team, these guys, they know what they're doing. They're not playing selfishly. And I like that from this roster. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this team again. As a caster, returning to CCL for the first time in 3 years, loving what I'm seeing from this Ottawa roster.
Yeah, and the thing that's really inspiring about this Ottawa team is how good Token and Stu have been. Not just individually, but in a team that is keeping up with what E2N and Lightning want to do, which is to run, by the way. Like, in this environment, they should, like, E2N and Lightning, they may not say it, but they're better than the vast majority of CCL players as individuals. So they're going to want to run at their competition and assert that dominance. So for Stu and Token to get thrown into that kind of a system and now showcase that they can play with that tempo and play at it with a very successful amount, a significant amount of successfulness, I will say, is inspiring, I think, to, again, like we talked about at the end of our last series, the potential and the ceiling that this team has. And just kind of, again, to re-hit it, like looking at the series overall, it was domination in the first map, domination in the second, it's pretty much domination in the third off of some what should have been unwinnable moments in those LSCLO control attacking rounds in particular. I look at this Ottawa team, they're definitely better than Michigan without question. That's a guarantee. I'd say they're better than SIUE based on the results that we've got. Better than Farmingdale State. Put these guys in 8th. They are, I think, a top 8 team right now, without question. And probably better than that. But just based on their record, I think they should be sitting in the 8th position until they have a chance to play up against some of the other top teams.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, again, it comes back to that conversation point about like how competitive this region actually is when you look at other rosters, kind of like Northwood and such, and and St. Clair as well. Like, this is a really competitive region. To see these guys performing like this, like, they're doing really well. To be 3-2, it might not look that great at first, but when you look at kind of, we bring out the point about the schedule so far for this roster, like, again, I'm really impressed with this Ottawa team. I'm looking forward to see kind of what they bring to the table for the rest of the season.
Agreed. So with that, we get to the conclusion of our second match and the final moments of the Midwest here in Week 3, as we'll be switching our attention to the West. Should be an interesting matchup. I'm hoping for a good one. Oklahoma Christian, Texas State. Before we swap to break, though, they want to give another shout out to our sponsors, America's Navy and Fandom, coming back with us, helping us put this broadcast on, and also providing some opportunities to get you involved if you're looking for maybe furthering your collegiate career or possibly moving into a brand new career path across a variety of different fields, 60 different, in fact, that all lead with areas such as nuclear engineering, special warfare, cryptology, information systems, and healthcare. So there is no one way to go about how you pursue your education and your professional career afterwards. You can check out more information by making sure you check out America's Navy. Off the break, into the West, Oklahoma Christian, Texas State, coming up for our final match on this Tuesday. We'll be right back. Don't go far.